Pop on.
Broadcast is live. Yeah, baby. All right. We're live.
All right.
Once
We are
again,
live.
Master Phil.
yeah.
Master Phil in your corner with my man Dougie Fresh Friedman at the Undefeated
Yes, sir.
Media Studios. And today we have an incredible guest. This guy, I've known him for well over a decade, and we've been through some serious changes, some upheavals in the strength and fitness community. And I will tell you this guy, I know pound for pound, is one of the strongest people you ever want to meet. He's very versatile, extremely athletic, has a gym called Ambition Athletics, is always coming up with new and interesting ways to train, to get stronger, and to have fun. So without any further ado, I am extremely pleased to introduce the lovely and talented, the incomparable Max Shank. Come on in, Max. All right.
Yo!
Hey.
Wow. Dude, thank you so much. What an introduction. Are you kidding me? How am I going to live up to that? Thanks for
So
dude.
Max, hey, it's obviously it's always great to see you, and you know, it's funny. I see you on social media, then I don't see you on it, and then you're doing something wild, and then you're doing something completely tame, and then you're playing guitar, saxophone, banjo, and then you're doing one-arm handstands. You know, we got all kinds of crazy stuff you're doing. You're doing Turkish get-ups with a big barbell over your head, and then you're doing fingertip push-ups. So where are we today, and how did you get there? And then we can talk about some of the things that we've done in the past too. So it's a lot of fun. We've always had a great time together. So.
Dude, yeah. I mean, we could talk about anything, right?
Pretty much.
I think it's fun, you know?
Yeah.
I think a lot about the just pure ROI, the return on investment for your time to what you want to have the ability to do. So a couple of the ways that I test myself on a regular basis is I play tennis and I do jiu-jitsu and I also do fencing. And between these different sports, you're just not going to get more eye-hand coordination, quickness, rotational power, resilience, toughness, flexibility, mobility. So I think it's important to realize the simplicity of if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yes.
So everything I do from a training standpoint is to enable me to just function better. And there are plenty of ways that are fun and enjoyable for me. And what I always try to tell people is, you know, you can try doing what I do, but you might not like it that much. So there are a lot of good viable substitutes that can get you the power that you need, the mobility that you need, the speed and the agility and the eye-hand coordination. And I think maybe that's one of the biggest changes from my training before. So maybe like 10 years ago was a lot more like trying to see how much weight I can lift, trying to really just push the limits on that, rather than look at the whole big picture and just realize like, oh man, if I do like 5 minutes of vision training, that's going to improve my overall athleticism a hell of a lot more than 5 more minutes of heavy lifting because I'm already pretty strong. And so it requires a lot of self-honesty to be, I mean, I was doing deficit deadlifts with 585. I don't think that's the reason I was still sucking at jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? So there were all these other factors that I had to take into consideration. And, you know, my journey was riddled with injuries. I mean, I'm a competitor, man. You know that. So, you lay it all out on the line and you start to pick up little injuries here and there. And then you get a little bit wiser. And I'm 32 now. So I gotta make sure that I take care of the longevity piece now. Otherwise, I'll end up like one of those guys who just talks about all the stuff they used to be able to do. And dude, what's worse than that?
Yeah, exactly. Because you know what? Again, I'm a little bit your senior, actually, 25 years, and I see
Only
so many people. I see so many people with these excuses for oh, I used to do this, used to do that. I don't want to say I used to. The only thing I want to say, I used to compete, but you know what? When the competition comes up, sometimes I just throw myself in there. But I don't know if it's the smartest thing to do, but one of the things that you bring up some interesting points, and one of them is this: people don't realize that some of the top super strong guys in the world lift like 1 or 2 days a week. That's it. I
well,
mean,
and what do you mean by the top strongest guys in the world?
well, okay, let's take power lifters just for example.
Yeah, great.
Okay, top power lifters. So some of these top power lifters, these guys lift weights 1 or 2 times a week, and that's it. And they're incredibly strong. Now, are they extremely fit? I don't think so, but it gives you time to do other things. So I mean, have you had any experience with any people who are up at that world class powerlifting level that work out once or twice a week, right? And as opposed to beating the daylights out of yourself 6 7 days a week in the gym, thinking more is better. Because I know
Yeah.
that look, a lot of people beat the snot out of themselves every day in the gym, and I know we've seen it. I know I've done it. I know you've done a lot of training too, and you got to look at that, like you said before, your ROI, the cost versus benefit ratio. Like, where is it? Do you want to kill yourself every day? Do you even need to do it every day? What is when you're talking about a minimalist lifestyle, minimalist training, what's the least you can do with the most benefit? And I think that you're trying to get there, or maybe you've made it. And I'd like to share that. And if you can talk about how you came there, because I know when we first met, um, you impressed me with your strength and athletic ability right off the bat. Um, and then it just went forward from there.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I definitely have some ideas
Yeah.
about the meaning of athleticism and strength. And the reality is, if you are the top power lifter, it's almost guaranteed that you're not going to be a well-rounded athlete because
Absolutely.
because it's just a pure question of opportunity cost, which is a term that
Mm-hmm.
few people really understand. It's like the cost of what you're doing is the possibility of anything else you could be doing with that same amount of time and energy. So if you want to squat 1,000 pounds, like you're probably just not going to be that nimble. You
Uh,
know, like you're probably be able to like hit a good two-handed backhand because you're going to be really locked up.
yeah.
So the most important thing is just to consider like what are you trying to achieve, and unfortunately, most of the modern fitness mythology perpetuates these ideas of maximum strength as like this wholly important thing. And I'm just like, dude, yeah, strength is important, but it's like maybe 1/10 of the shit that we really want to start focusing on and considering, so that you have the ability to try more things. Like, my baseline
Mhm.
is I want people to have enough physical ability to try any sport without being afraid. It's really super simple.
Mhm.
If someone is like a little unsure of themselves so much that they would be afraid to play tennis or go surfing or do a boxing class or even just go for a run or play with their kids. I mean, there are all kinds of different things, but you got to ask yourself why. Well, okay, I
Yeah.
want that. Well, why do you want that? Why do you want that? Why do you want that? You apply the 5 whys to it. And then, there are things like rolling on the floor. I mean, if you don't roll on the floor, come on, like, what are you doing? It's right there. It's free. It's the
Yeah.
most relatable massage therapist you'll ever have. Balancing on one leg, getting your feet really strong. There's
Hmm.
a Chinese proverb that says we age from the roots up. And, as someone who's experienced like turf toe and some shit like that from grappling, Dude, talk about something that will just like fuck your day up.
Oh yeah.
A bum toe, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, well, now I'm walking entirely differently. My ankle and my knee and my hip are all out of whack. I'm just winding up this myofascial web and creating this new movement pattern that's going to totally mess you up. So having really strong feet is just like one of many things that usually doesn't get taken into consideration because, like, as you well know, whatever is most popular is usually wrong. So
Yes.
if most of the popular stuff is trying to get you to lift the most amount of pounds or have the biggest arms or let's say burn the most calories, which are all, I mean, I think they're dumb goals, but if you think they're really important, then that's fine.
Yeah.
It just costs you a lot of energy that you could be investing into things that would actually improve what you're doing every day. So I try to ask people, what's your time investment? And what do you want to be able to do? And then the rest of it will really take care of itself. Like the idea of doing an exercise, or doing a workout for the simple sake of burning energy, I feel like I'm the one taking crazy pills here. Like, are you kidding me? You want to just burn energy? Have you tried hiking or fucking before? Like, there are so many ways that you can utilize your energy, right? It's insane
Yep.
that we think that is like a really good target for our time investment. It would be like driving your car just to see how much fuel you can burn. And it's like, oh yeah, I don't care where we go. I just want to make sure we burn like 5 gallons of fuel. And like as soon as you think of it that way, you're like, well, this makes no freaking sense at all.
None.
There are all kinds of considerations that go way beyond what the modern fitness mythology would suggest. And yeah, we can talk about those. You know, rolling on the floor is really big.
Mm-hmm.
Staying springy is really big. Being able to balance on one leg is huge. Being able to run with good technique, you can use the metronome to kind of trim things up a little bit. Hanging and climbing, carrying something heavy, and you know, shoot, man, some sort of wrestling, whether even if it's just pushing hands, right? Um, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. And you're also going to get a level of connection with that other person that's going to give you like a really deep feeling of camaraderie and family that you won't get anywhere else. And I get asked all the time, what's the best piece of training equipment? And it's a capable, enthusiastic partner. Every time. Like you can do everything with that. Are you kidding me? So I would say definitely think about what you want to achieve and then think about the simplest way to get that and make it a daily practice rather than something you just do sometimes is the other thing.
Yeah. So regularity, consistency, um, those are key. One of the things I've found that, and I'll tell you this is also even with me every day. Um, getting started. Getting started. I mean, here, how do you feel in the beginning of a workout? I'm like, oh man, and then a couple minutes into it, I'm 100% fine, and I'm just pumping away. But before you get started is a very difficult time, and I find that's true with most people. Whether it's getting started in getting to come to your gym to make a commitment to it, to start the workout. Especially if people work out on their own too. To start the workout, to get it going is very difficult for people to get over. What do you do to help get yourself started?
I mean, I'm just as susceptible to the law of least action as anybody else.
Yep.
I think part of it is just to have that wisdom and knowing yourself that all creatures are trying to get the easiest deal for the least amount of calories. So it's not like a laziness thing, is it? It's just you realize you don't have to, so you don't. But definitely going from 0 to 1 is the hardest, and that has to do with the law of momentum and inertia. So an object at rest wants to stay at rest. I mean, it's just, I would say it's like basic physics, but it's more like, I don't mean in terms of like simple, I mean in terms of like the basis of how we think about things. So one thing you can do is you can start with a smaller bite. I mean, that's why my 5 minute flow program has done so well. It's a full body mobility system that it's it's so manageable. It's like a little bite size. And what I love about it is a big trick, quite frankly, because I don't want people to just do 5 minutes a day. I want people to start the day with at least 5 minutes and a big cup of water, because it's huge victory already. You got one in the bag, essentially. But my favorite message I get is when people say, "Oh, Max, I love your 5 minute flow program. The only problem is I can't do 5 minutes anymore. It's always 10, 15, or 20. And I'm like, haha, I got you. That's exactly how it is.
They took the bait.
Yeah, I mean, once you do 5 minutes, like, you don't want to stop.
No.
Good. Your body is going through this hormone cascade of all these natural happy drugs, right?
Oh yeah.
So the last thing you want to do is stop moving. And so, yeah, start with a small bite. And then also there's a quantum effect of setting a timer. Like, if you just hit start on a timer, it's a real game changer. And it's different if you start with a timer that is 5 minutes counting down versus a timer that is 0 minutes counting up.
Yes.
And if you have a 5 minute countdown timer, there's a little more of a sense of urgency that you feel. And so you can use that timer to break through the inertia without actually taking any real effort yet.
Well, you brought up two pretty important points here I'd like to accentuate. One of them is you're talking about, getting started and doing your workouts and consistency and so forth. And then we got into the release of the endorphins. And, one time in a Jack LaLanne interview, I think when he was like 80 years old, and he just towed, 80 tugboats in his teeth, swimming across some body of water. And they said, well, you must like working out a lot. He goes, no, I really don't. I just don't like the way I feel if I don't work
out. Fear of loss.
Yep.
Dude, I don't know. I don't think I'm the same way. I think I find ways that are fun, actually. Yeah. Man, like, the less stuff that you have to do, the less willing you are to do those unnecessary things. I can set up here really nicely dialed. So I don't really encounter a lot of stuff in my day where it's something like I have to do. So it really has to come from a place of, it doesn't have to. Shoot, I just think it's better if you find something that is enjoyable that gets the job done, rather than basically fighting a willpower battle every day of like, okay, I know I should be doing clean and press, so I'm gonna do it today because I should be doing it. And as soon as you feel that good,
What's that noise, Doug?
Probably the next plague.
We'll be gassed. So the other thing that,
what do you hear? Is that better?
No, Max, you're fine. So, unmute yourself.
You guys.
Yeah. Let me see. Is it mine? Let me try. I'll mute me.
Someone's letting the air out of the ball. Oh, it's not Phil.
It's not me. It is.
Ooh, all right. The only thing I could think of is my computer's getting a little overheated, so let's control these fans.
So just mute for a little bit, and then so it calms down. So. Yeah, Doug, why don't you mute it for a little bit?
You still hear it? They're off.
What?
We can hear
you still hear it?
Oh,
we still hear fine. If you mute it, we hear. Yeah, we hear fine.
Oh,
yeah, so that's a lot better.
Oh my God.
So, Max, can you hear me?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, so I like doing what I like doing. I like doing kettlebells. I like doing body weight. I like doing my martial arts. I like grappling. I like sparring, all that kind of stuff. I like skipping rope. That's what I like to do. to me, I can't see how you could like to do anything else, but that's me. But
Right.
but not everybody is me, not everybody's you. But I tell them you have to find something that you want to do because you have to eliminate the drudgery and the dread factor. If you dread your training regimen every day, you know what? You're going to look for excuses not to do it. I mean, look, I have an extension on my accounting, for the end of the year, and I hate doing it, and so I still haven't done it. I probably have an hour or two left of it, but you know what? I have so many other things that I'd rather do. So guess what? I'm putting it off.
Totally.
I still have to the 15th anyway, so of June. But yeah, but you made a point that it's you want to find what you like. And maybe if you like Zumba, I don't care, move. Do something you like.
Yeah.
And that you'll do a lot or consistently.
Yeah, you want to like eagerly look forward to it rather than dread it, and that's the bottom line. And so I remember so clearly a conversation I had when I was like 21, and I really knew so much back then. I would have said that I knew more then than I know now. Talking to this group.
Yes, you would have.
I talked to this group of ladies who had just started doing Zumba, and of course I had just done kettlebell course, neurophysiology course, corrective exercise. So I had like my business card had like 15 letters at the end of my name, so I could show like how big my academic dick was.
Yes.
And I remember they were telling me how they enjoyed the Zumba, and I just told them like, yeah, that's good, but you're not really going to develop functional strength and fitness like that. And so I proceeded to like tell them like my whole idea of what they should be doing instead. And I just watch their faces drained of enthusiasm, and they're like, why is he telling us this? And I realized that it is so much more important to really enjoy what you're doing. Now, there is a line. Like sometimes people do things that just straight up hurt them and continue doing those things that just straight up hurt them. But if you are eagerly looking forward to it, you'll do it. And if you dread doing it, then you're going to be in one of two categories. You're going to be in the category of the people who dread it and then avoid it and never do it, or you're going to be in the category of the people who dread it and then do it anyway, using like half of their psychic energy and willpower for the day, and are just constantly fighting this battle. And to me, like either way, that's a loss.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, again, you got to find something you like and something that you're going to do on a regular basis. Oh gosh, what was the other thing you brought up? We talked about the liking what you do. We're talking about there was something else you brought up. Gosh, I should have wrote it down because I knew we'd get off on a tangent.
Abilities? Was it about the abilities to cultivate? Was it about the way to structure it?
Yeah. No. Oh, here. Now. Oh, yeah. To get people started.
Right.
How do you wind up getting people to start? Or if someone wants to start something, how do you get them to take that first step? Because this is something that's, I see you leaning back. It's a tough question.
No, it's a simple question. So I have it written on my board. I'll just read it off to you. Number one, you have to accept that we are animals, and therefore you want to either Pavlov or Skinner box yourself with some sort of trigger, habit, and reward. Because the truth is, we live in this fantasy world of metaphors that we've created to cooperate in a more intricate way. But the reality is we're just monkeys responding to a stimulus. Like if I see a bunch of bananas, I'm going to go eat the bananas. Like that's just the reality of the situation. I remember talking to a friend of mine who was pretty obese diabetic, and he said the biggest difference in his diet was literally putting a washcloth over the box of donuts. So he didn't see it. That was it. That was like one of the biggest things. He got it out of his line of sight. So I would say,
why didn't he just not buy them?
Well, that's a different. I guess when you feel that urge, you gotta take it through to the end. But
Yeah.
you do the same thing with setting up triggers in your line of sight for positive behaviors too.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole simplicity of 5 minute flow is like, look, you've just been hopefully somewhat immobilized for 8 hours or something like that. So the thing that's going to help you the most is to get your body moving, so that every step you take after that is going to be
Mm-hmm.
um, reinforcing good patterns, as opposed to you wake up all stiff and sore and your first hour of moving around is just more like crunched, essentially. Um, so the trigger for that is just on waking, and then there's the reward of the water afterwards. So you can sort of sandwich the habit between a trigger and a reward, and that really makes it much easier. So let's say you wanted to swing Indian clubs. Well, you just put them next to your toothbrush or something like that, or something you already do in the morning. So you come up with like a little stack, and that takes a lot of the risk out of it,
Mm-hmm.
because people just forget shit.
Yeah.
Very few people talk about this too much, because I think it feels frightening. But people just don't remember things. Like, the reason we put stuff on a grocery list is because we don't remember all the shit that we need. And it's like, okay, that's only like 10 bits of information. It's not a lot.
Yeah.
Right? But our memory for that, unless you really, really crazy practice it, is very suspect. So you don't want to. I think it's a mistake to put yourself in a position where you are just purely relying on like remembering to swing your Indian clubs and leaving them in the closet, rather than, freaking put them inside your shoes. So you're like, oh yeah, before I go outside, I'm going to swing these Indian clubs. I mean, I'm sure you've done stuff like that before going to a party or something. You're like, oh yeah, I got to bring the casserole to this party, so I'll just put my keys on the casserole, so that way I definitely don't forget this thing, right?
Well, I'll tell you, when I was in sales years ago, and I would, a lot of times you go to a business and you leave your coat. So what I would do is I'd put my keys in my pocket of my coat, so I didn't leave my coat at the company that I went to visit. So it was like one of those things, because how many times you walk out without your coat? So I put my keys in there so I wouldn't. And then there's times when I've been at my studio and say, I want to remember this, 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 and this, and I leave everything.
Yeah.
So,
exactly. Yeah, so that's huge. Is don't just try to rely on your memory, because I mean, think about it. What's the worst thing you could do? Is you could try to rely on your memory, fail to remember, and then fucking beat yourself up for it after the fact. So you get like a whole brutal trifecta, right?
Well, that's the other thing is I tell people, they say, listen, you know what? Pack your bag for training the gym after work and put it in your car.
Yeah.
So it's there. You're ready to go. You're ready to go.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's that's been one mechanism that's helped people. Now the other thing, I remember what it was. When you're talking about your 5 minute flow, and then all of a sudden people are doing more and more. See what you did with that little 5 minute flow, you got them going. And that's the thing. Once they've gotten going, hey, the hard part's over. Look, I know when I do my little workout in the morning, the first thing, the first exercises are terrible. I mean, it just, everything hurts. I don't know if you're at that point yet in life, but until I get moving, everything in my body hurts. Okay. And then once I get moving, though, I feel pretty good. And I'm like, I can just keep going. Just keep going and going and going and going. But it's getting started. Like you said, right? What is it? Things in motion tend to stay in motion. Right. Bodies at rest tend to stay at rest.
Yeah, I refer to it as the energy estimation error that people make. So they build it up, and it's still just for the same thing we were talking about before. It's to save calories.
Yeah.
That's such a deep primal instinct to save calories, right? So we're constantly trying to gauge where we're going to get the most carrots for the least amount of calories, basically. Yep. So if something seems like it's going to be too much effort for the reward, we'll talk ourselves out of it really quick. I mean, think about this. Let me know if you've done this. I do this all the time. I think about something. I don't know the answer, so I want to find the answer. And, probably check out YouTube or something like that.
Okay.
And I see 2 videos that might have the answer to my question. One of them is 2 minutes and one of them is 25 minutes. Which one do you think I'm going to try?
2-minute one.
2-minute one every time. So
every time.
It's just natural. Like, the last thing you want to do is beat yourself up and be like, oh yeah, I guess I'm just lazy or something. I mean, the truth is everybody is totally lazy.
Yes.
But it's always for whatever mental framework they currently have. It's like I try to tell people, because I do business coaching for people as well. I'm like, there's no such thing as procrastination. Otherwise, I would be the reigning champion of procrastination. Procrastination just means you've encountered something that is not important enough yet. That's all. It's not for better or worse. It just is. Like, you don't care about this thing enough yet to take an action on it. So don't think of it as like a fucking character defect. Because then you're just gonna start downward spiraling, right? If you instead accept the reality and get curious about it, you're like, well, okay, why do I not care about it? It's like me manicuring my front yard. Like, I don't hang out there, so I don't care. It's like desert scape. And every time I even think about doing it, I'm like, okay, so it take me an hour, but I could play guitar for an hour or invite my friend over and do some grappling. And I really don't care what my front yard looks like, so I guess I'm not going to do that again. Is that procrastination, or is that really just the same cost-benefit analysis that people are constantly making? So I think alleviating yourself of any feelings of shame around an action that you're not taking is very wise. And I think it's much better to come at it from a place of pure curiosity and just be honest with yourself. Like, what am I trying to achieve?
Yeah.
And how important is it really? And if it's not important enough yet, you won't do it, and who cares?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's great. That's great words to live by. Great advice, because if it's a priority, you'll do it. If it's not a priority, it's going to fall to the wayside.
You'll find an excuse if it's not important enough yet.
Yeah. Hey, now, I know we'd be a little remiss in discussing this, considering where we are in the world right now. But how has this COVID-19 affected you, your business, taken a different direction? Do you look at it as opportunities out there, or is it just going to enhance some things you were doing already?
I mean, the truth is there's always opportunities for me, because I've spent the last 15 years creating value in one field. Mm-hmm. And I'm so interested in it that it requires no effort for me to spend 8 hours a day thinking and learning about athleticism and strength and health and fitness. So as far as opportunities are concerned, I think opportunities are everywhere all the time. I have this saying, the money flows up, the money flows down. Either way, another yacht is being bought downtown. And it really doesn't matter which way the current's going, because there are going to be a lot of people who win and there are going to be a lot of people who lose. As far as my physical location, ambition, athletics, it's totally shut down, man. I realized that asking questions about what's going on will be met with a lot of tribalism. And so I think I've decided to pretty much not share my opinions about stuff related to that, because, frankly, it's just not worth it. Which is actually a little bit sad relative to the whole free speech idea. Yeah. Right. But there are two kinds of ways to suppress speech, and maybe more. One is just through social shaming, and the other one is through actual enforced censorship via the holder of the stick. You know, regardless of the structure of the society, whether it's a monarchy or a dictatorship or a republic or whatever, someone's got a big stick. And the reality is, when they say, hey, it's stick time, like, all the rules don't really matter. You know, like, we've watched all the amendments get totally cast aside.
Oh, trashed.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter. You know, I spent a little bit too much energy trying to become like a fucking constitutional historian, but I gotta say that didn't really win me any popularity contests. That's for sure.
It depends who you hang out with, because you know, half the people are gonna love you, half of them are gonna hate you. And, you know,
well, you know, and frankly, I don't want to wear a red T-shirt or a blue T-shirt, because the world we're living in, there's no such thing as truth anymore. It's just 24/7 flagrant lying from both sides, trying to advance their own individual agenda. You know, I don't feel, I definitely am not filled with a ton of confidence in the California leadership with regard to small businesses. I mean, are you kidding me? Like, they come up with these rules, like, you can walk on the beach, but you can't sit down. You can fish. You can go fishing on the beach, but you can't, like, do a yoga flow. You know, it's like, okay, so anyway, the point is, no such thing as truth anymore, which is a bit of a tough pill to swallow, quite frankly. The rules don't make sense. They've never made sense. And yet somehow ignorance of the law is no excuse. So, I mean, there's never been more of a, like, clusterfuck of rules and regulations that are impossible to understand. And, you know, once again, I'm not going to really share my opinion too much on, like, the whole bat flu situation, but it's just so over the top, man.
Yeah. I mean, look, I couldn't agree with you.
I've never seen anything like this. I mean, the fear pornography is absolutely relentless. Like, oh my God. Can you imagine if we had little death counters for suicide, for car accidents, for heart disease, for diabetes? It's like, the death rate passed this number. I'm like, why are we framing this in such a way? Like, who wins when we frame it in such a way of, like, oh, this, like, such a big, it's like, dude, come on. You know what happened in North Korea when Kim Il-sung had 85% of the buildings destroyed by United States bombers and 15% of the population? He went home and said, don't worry, guys, we won. So it's like, you know, with how many different data points there are, with how much fear is being pumped into people, my only advice is, don't believe anything you read. Don't believe anything you hear. And that is a tricky stance to take. Like, how am I going to sit here and tell people that? But I can't in good conscience recommend anything other than that, which is connect with the people you know, look at your own firsthand experience, and, dude, just recognize every single message you see is going to have an intended effect, either to make you afraid, make you take some action, make you perpetuate some of their lies. Who knows? But it's a hostile environment when it comes to information. It's a hostile environment when it comes to free speech. And, you know, I'm just reminded of Amendments 1 and 5. 1, you can say anything. 5, you probably should shut the fuck up.
Well, actually, also in 5, if you look at the last sentence in 5, you know, it refers to property and ownership, and that the government shall not be able to take your property without just compensation, when essentially our property has been seized. If you look at the rights that have been just abdicated, you know, it leads me to believe that, you know, if a right can be taken away, it's no longer a right, it's a privilege. And, you know, that's what I mean. They have to change the name to the Bill of Privileges, because they're just stripping our rights away left left and right.
Left and right. No, you're 100% correct. I mean, if the simple way that I think about it now is if you hold the stick, then it's still just might makes right. You know, we have all these rules, and when times are like total abundance, everything's going well, we kind of like follow these rules
Yeah.
a little bit. But when push comes to shove, might makes right. And sorry, folks, that's
Yeah.
just the way we live
I
in
mean,
it. So
yeah,
it's
but,
still better to live here than anywhere else in
oh, yeah,
history.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So you have the foundation of gratitude, but then you got to realize that you know, don't expect Papa to come to your rescue.
No.
You know, you got to really aim for building your own community, building your own network, building your own net worth. You know, growing your own power and influence, and that's what you can really count on. And I think that's also why having a daily practice is so valuable, because it gives you something really tangible. You know, like I do a daily practice every day for an hour. People are like, whoa, really? Like, tell me about that. That's like, that's serious mental and physical power boost.
Yeah. I mean,
easy.
The what?
Easy. I'll start going on a rant, man.
I know. You know, it's funny because when you look at how things have happened and people want to rely on the government, I'll just go off on 2 points that you brought up. One was about the one with the biggest stick, might makes right. You look at it this way: somebody does you wrong, right? And you punch them in the face. Chances are you go to jail. Someone does a government wrong, they consider an act of war and they go blow them up, but it's okay. So a government can go and exercise violence anytime they want, but you can't. You know, in those situations. And you also have to look at it this way: you know, when people they want to be reliant upon a government entity, not only do you relinquish your freedoms, but they can't respond like you can. For example, oh gosh, if there's a crime, call the police. You know what? The police are there in minutes when seconds count. I love that. Someone has so how are you going to do, how are you going to, you have to know how to defend yourself. You have to have the means to defend yourself when a criminal attacks you. You'd say you're a 120-pound woman walking home and 3 dirtbags come up to you and want to have their way with you. You know what? If you don't have the means to defend yourself, it's over. It's over. Okay, and this is what they've done to us as a society. I know California and New Jersey, they're terrible in that fashion. You know, so
it's the classic scam to get you to trade up your freedom for the illusion of security, and that's a tale as old as time, right?
Yep.
So we're dealing with hardcore propaganda, and you know, it's definitely a fool's bargain, right? Because now we're not even trading it for security. We're trading it for convenience even. People are willing to trade their freedom for convenience. And the truth is, like, people don't actually care about politics. They just care about services. And, you know, when I say this to people, their eyes kind of glaze over, like, what's he talking about? I'm like, well, you know, honestly, you don't care about, like, red t-shirt, blue t-shirt. You mostly care that, you know, your indoor plumbing is still working. You got power, you got internet, you got food. Like, those are the things you really care about. That other stuff you don't really care about. Like, trust me, you know. So yeah, man. As soon as you can vote for money, democracy is dead. I think Thomas
yes,
said.
yeah,
So I think that's kind of what's happening in. Look, you know, I don't want our wise and powerful Governor Newsom to see this and like fuck up my shit or anything, but California is just like a total cesspool of political bureaucracy. Like, I mean, here's the thing. I live in Encinitas. It's one of the nicest towns I've ever been to, and I've been a lot of places.
It's beautiful.
I've been to Sweden, I've been to Italy, UK, Ireland, England, Spain, France, Germany, Taiwan. I mean, I've been to Japan. I've been to all these amazing cities and amazing places. And Encinitas is one of these like sweetest little beach coastal towns that you could even imagine. And I love it. And I love my friends. But, you know, as a business owner, especially, and as a, you know, just a differently uninformed citizen, I just go like, dude, what are these people smoking here? Like, this is unbelievable how this is the best we can do to organize ourselves.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't blame anybody for the opinion that they have, because it has so much to do with the big picture. I used to get really hard on people and be like, how could this idiot be so dumb?
Yeah.
Sure, neither of you have ever felt that, ever.
No, never. Not at least in the past 5 minutes.
Yeah. Not since we started this conversation, really. But, you know, you start to think about things from a little bit of a higher perspective, right? I look at the difference between me and my neighbor, for example. That guy's got different parents. He went to a different school. He's got different friends. He might have grown up in a different place. He's been, over the last 90 days, getting not only a different view of the same information, but just purely different information. So we all believe like something that we're like, okay, this is the truth.
Yeah.
But the reality is, like, me compared to this next guy, we haven't even seen the same bits of information.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, when I see someone, it's like this stupid mask thing. People are like all up in arms. And you know, I had a friend tell me the other day, it's like, yeah, you know, the people who are wearing masks think you're an asshole if you don't wear a mask. And if you're not wearing a mask, you think the ones with the masks are assholes. And I was like, I don't think that. I just think that people can be free to make their own choices based on whatever information they have. You know, I can totally understand why someone would or wouldn't wear.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, and we don't know who's right. We don't know who's wrong. But ultimately, part of what makes this so difficult is there's not really a line anymore. There's not a line. Like it used to be that I could run my business and make those choices the way I wanted to, but now there's just not that line.
No.
And that's really the line that matters, is what am I allowed to control versus what do you control? And, you know, shit, I used to complain about taxes because I thought they went for a lot of dumb things that I didn't want or need.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Shoot, at least then all the stealing was like consolidated to
one spot.
Right? You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, I know that you're like, I mean, California,
God. New Jersey's right behind you.
So it's like 6 months of indentured servitude so I can have road postal office or something like that, right? Yeah. I mean, God, it's just so crazy how quickly people will turn on you if you give your honest opinion about it. But the reality is, I understand why people have the opposite opinion. It's because you've had a different life. You've had a different set of data points that you're trying to connect all this stuff together. And, you know, right now, the flow of misinformation is overwhelming to the point that it's like watching a tennis match. And you have completely forgotten about the thing that just happened.
Right.
You know, right now, all anyone cares about is racist cops.
Right.
I'm sorry, isn't it just like bad to kill anybody, no matter what color they are?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I obviously it was a black victim in this case, and a white cop or several white cops who are involved. If that was a white guy or a black guy down there, I feel the same.
Exactly.
That was just wrong.
We should all feel the same like that.
Right. Exactly. We should all feel the same. We shouldn't feel it's worse or better because.
I mean, whatever combination. Like seriously, we're talking about the color combinations.
Yeah. Who cares?
Like, dude, come on.
I know, it's anything to polarize, anything to because listen, once you're fragmented, it's a lot easier to control people once you have a mass fragmented. And if you look at it, everything it's based on color, sex, where you come from, religion. There's so many different ways to fragment us, and have everyone pitted against each other so that you can control us easier because we're not united. As a matter of fact, I don't think we're the United States anymore. I think we're the untied states, and they've got us untied, and we're all over the place and tangled up fighting each other. And they don't realize that there is actually a two-party system. It's us and Washington. Those are the only two parties right now, and they're in control.
Yeah,
535 people are telling us what to do and screwing it all up.
Oh yeah, it really makes sense that some folks in Washington D.C. know better for how some people in Montana should live, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Like, doesn't that just make sense?
Perfect.
So here's a little phrase that I think you'll love. All social engineering stems from arrogance.
Yeah. Think about it. Yep.
All social engineering stems from arrogance. It's because someone goes, oh, there ought to be a law. There ought to be a law. There ought to be a rule that says you can't do this or you can't do that. And that's always coming from people who just can't keep their noses out of other people's business.
Exactly. They know better. They know better how you should conduct yourself than you do.
The reality is, if you do have the ability to freely speak with each other, if we have the ability to freely transact with each other, that's it.
That's it. That's all we need.
That's all we need.
Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
So you're right. It's all about confusion at this point. And dude, so many people now are taking to their social media and just perpetuating this misinformation for free because we so want to be part of the good guys. We want to be on the team of the good guys. We want to be a tribe of the good guys. And you know what? Hitler thought he was a good guy. All of the North Korean dictators thought they were good guys.
Mm-hmm.
No matter who you look at, I love this PBS series called The Dictators Playbook.
Yeah.
You can see a video of Mussolini going, one country, one decision, and then everybody else goes, yeah! And a huge crowd of people, they could not be more stoked that he's making all this for them. They're stoked. He will save them. So, ultimately, you don't need that much. You need an hour of daily training. You need to be able to freely exchange ideas with people, and you need to be able to freely exchange stuff with people.
Now,
and that's about it.
Talk about exchanging stuff. What do you have that you are working on right now that you're coming out with?
Oh, dude, I'm stoked. I just launched my Primal Athleticism program. It's a daily practice program that goes over basically what we were talking about before. What are the highest ROI things to practice every day to give you the highest level of athleticism and also the highest level of connection and peace of mind, too? I actually just got a message from somebody who just bought the program and said that he was feeling better and he was connecting with his kids like he hadn't before.
That's awesome.
Now that is really cool because
that's huge.
One of the tenets is, you learn all these things, but then, you got to share them with people.
Absolutely.
And
Max, where can people find this and get you?
Oh, yeah. So Max
we'll put it up on the ticker.
Has everything, and then primalathleticism.com is where you can find that new program.
Okay, cool.
And if you just search my name, I'm really easy to find.
Excellent.
Yeah, so it's that's actually worked really well, with regard to the state of the world, I guess, as it were. I had my pity party of trying to figure out why the rules don't matter.
Yeah.
But then I pretty quickly pivoted to finish this project that I've been working on for years anyway. So in a lot of ways, it turned out to be a bit of a blessing to have that extra time there.
Very cool.
I think that's the biggest difference maker. It's like I said, there are people who are going to succeed really big in this time. There are people who are going to fall really far. I think it's just going to be a widening gap. And you spend too long, licking your wounds and feeling bad about like what you feel like you've lost, maybe.
Yeah.
You're just going to widen the gap. You're going to widen that chasm between the people who have hit the ground running, and if you don't contribute, it doesn't feel good anyway.
No.
I tried retiring when I was 27.
Yeah.
I remember I bought this house, and I had it all dialed. I had this plan to like buy a place with a pool and get the backyard all set up, and then I did, and I was like, okay, I've arrived. And dude, it just it ultimately does not feel good to not share.
Yeah, it's empty. It's an empty life.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. Like, why didn't anybody tell me that ahead of time, Phil? You're supposed to.
I would have told you.
But if you can, right now we have more leverage than ever through technology. So I can immortalize my expertise. I like reading the crazy books. I like going to the insane seminars. But if you have the presence of mind to cut out all of those distractions and create a workable framework for your knowledge, you can immortalize that forever.
Absolutely.
You can offer it to people digitally at a more or less infinite scale. And dude, there is no better win-win than that, because I'm getting physical energy from people buying my products every day. And I'm getting psychic energy from all of the appreciation that I get.
That's great, man.
The last thing you want to do is do something just for the approval of others. But man, it just feels really good when someone emails you and says, like, dude, you changed my life. Like,
I love that. Yep, I hear you.
If it weren't for that, I probably would have quit, honestly.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's nothing like that because you know what? Human beings, I've always said, need purpose. And if you don't have purpose, what's the point? But we're going to have to wrap things up right now. And we're definitely going to do this again, because we just scratched the surface of what we're here to do anyway with this world. And but Max, as always, it's great to be with you. And Doug, can you come back in to close us out, or
can you hear me? Do I'm in a wind tunnel still?
No wind tunnel anymore. Awesome. Nice. Max, you want to stick with us for our outro music? And guys, just remember that this is Master Phil in your corner, and we also have the Body Bell Method certification available online now. It's ready to roll. Get yourself certified and get your continuing education credits satisfied. Strength and honor.
Where's our music? Where's our music? Here it comes. Here it comes. Here it comes. Here it comes.
Out. You guys like music?
It should be coming. It should be playing. I don't know what's going on here. Here it comes. Here it comes.
As a marketer,
there we go. Technical difficulties, but there's our music.
All right. Okay, guys. Great stuff. Thanks a lot. Strength and honor.
Ooh.